This inauguration of Data Champion 2022 and 23 and 24, one of the events organized by the CUHK Library in this Research Data Management Week. I'm Wendy, Research Data Librarian from the CUHK Library. This inauguration session is held both online and in person in our Digital Scholarship Lab. Data champions are ambassadors on research data management, what we call RDM at CUHK. They are selected from 8 faculties at CUHK and provide advice on RDM to researchers and students in their faculty. In this inauguration, we will meet all the data champions, and 2 of them will share their experience and insights on RDM. First of all, may I invite Mr. John Barrick, the acting university librarian of our library, to give a welcome speech. Mr. Barrick, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all here. My warmest welcome to everyone for coming and to participating, and good luck in the future for all the activities you're going to be undertaking in your faculties to support this new program that we've developed. This event today is to celebrate and to launch the inauguration event of the Data Champions program that's been organised by Wendy and her team. And the Research Data Management Week aims to raise the awareness, as Wendy said, of our researchers and students on research data management, or RDM as it's in short. We had the CUHK Data Hack 2024 last weekend and a workshop on the use of our research data repository yesterday. Today we're having this inauguration event. Data champions are ambassadors who promote RDM to researchers and students in each faculty. We are glad to have this first cohort of data champions start this important role. They're supported by the Committee of RDM, which is under the Research Committee of the University. After a competitive selection process last November, 13 data champions were chosen from 33 applicants and from all 8 faculties. They are currently MPhil and PhD students, as well as a research assistant professor. They received RDM training in December and January. During this term this year, they'll have bi-monthly meetings in which they'll share their experience and have discussions on research data management. They'll also form a bridge between the researchers and the library, and the library will benefit by them reporting to us any cases for follow-up to assist further where needed. The data champions will work with faculty representatives from the committee to organise events that the Research Data Management Committee is organising by providing funds to the faculties for certain events to support research data management. While research data management is very important in the research life cycle, funding agencies and public publishers are also imposing more requirements in this area. In this, for instance, requiring a data management plan submission along with grant proposals and data sharing at the end of a research project. So the role of data champions is very important to assist their colleagues in this area that's growing. In this event today, our data champions will introduce themselves. You may also find the details on the Data Champions webpage. The QR code is on the screen here. Please do not hesitate to reach out to them for advice and support. After their individual introductions, 2 data champions, Carleon Mendonza and Provides Ng, will also share their views on selected RDM topics. Finally, the library and each faculty will continue to host events and trainings to promote RDM. We look forward to meeting you in the future events. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. Would you please stay on stage to have a photo with our data champions? Thank you, John and all. Now, let's take some time to meet our data champions from each faculty. They will each introduce themselves. First, we will have members from Faculty of Arts. We have two data champions. They are Joseph de Guzman and Carleon Mendonza. Joseph, please.
Hello, good morning everyone. I am Joseph Adriel de Guzman and you can call me Jad. I'm a PhD student from the Department of Anthropology and a data champion for the Faculty of Arts along with Carleon. I'm particularly interested in the observance of ethics and data privacy in the practice of research data management, as my field deals with a lot of personal and sensitive data. So I'm here to help my colleagues in the Faculty of Arts, particularly those in the humanities and social sciences, in developing ways to practice good RDM in our research, which tends to be different from those from the other faculties. So please reach out to me or to Carleon if you have any questions or ideas about RDM. It's nice to meet you. Thank you.
Carleon, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I am Carleon Mendoza. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Linguistics and Modern Languages. In linguistics, language often is captured by using a lot of experimental methods, but also a lot of corpus methods. And in that case, we have a lot of data, a large range of data that we have to accommodate for. And while we use this data to capture what is effectively the intuitive and the intangible, a lot of the times, the studies that we do nowadays is quantitative in the results. Therefore, RDM is used to streamline the effect and make sure that the research process is interpretable, reproducible, and at least reachable to a lot of the experienced readers as well as the novices, just like myself. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. I am effective in English, Cantonese, Tagalog, Hong Kong Sign Language. You can communicate to me in any way you want. That will be fine. That's it. Thank you.
Next, we will have Li Xinyu from Faculty of Business Administration. Xinyu, please.
Okay. So, hello everyone, I'm Xin Li from the Faculty of Business Administration and currently majoring in Management Information Systems. So, as a digital native and also an empiricist researcher, I'm always passionate about how to exploring how we can use the technology and those data to create more values, to shift our life and something like the society and business. So I'm here very happy to join this community and take the responsibility to be a data champion, to share my current knowledge to how to better leverage the data and promote the collaboration between my academic community and our research data team. So I'm here happy to join this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Xinyu. Now let's welcome Wang Zhitong from Faculty of Education.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Wang Zitong. I'm a second-year PhD student in the Department of Educational Administration and Policy. As a researcher focusing on the quantitative studies, I have gained rich experience in the research data management after being trained in the lots of projects and collaboration with worldwide famous scholars. So as a data champion, I aim to introduce my personal research workflow and also introduce the CUHK research data management tools to our faculties. Hence, I aim to promote the efficiency of the research data management and enhance the academic productivities of our communities. So feel free to ask me some questions in the Faculty of Education. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Zhitong. Here we will have Li Zhunen from Faculty of Engineering.
So hi everyone, my name is Jun'an and I'm now carrying on the second year PhD program in the Department of System Engineering and Engineering Management in our faculty. So I'm very glad to be a data champion here and glad to help you to build our better secure data research management. I will work closely with my supervisor, who is also the faculty coordinator of this program. So I know the members in our faculties are very clever and have a strong awareness of the data security, especially for your own research data. So if you need my help, feel free to contact me at this email address, and I will help you to build up a data repository in our CUHK data repository system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we will have He Chen, data champion from Faculty of Law.
Hi everyone, I'm Chen Chen from the Faculty of Law. My research areas are criminology and criminal justice. So unlike traditional legal scholars who pay more attention to the doctrinal legal research, I engage more with the empirical legal studies. The doctrinal legal research focuses more on the interpretation of law regulations or articles or how to apply them into a case, but empirical legal studies focus more on data, like quantitative or qualitative data. And we are always exploring the gap between the black letter law on books and law in action. But the problem is that the majority of the legal studies are doctrinal legal studies. So that's the reason why I want to be a data champion in my faculty, because I really want to promote data management in my faculty and provide a bridge between the library and my faculty. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chen Chen. We have 3 representatives from Faculty of Medicine. They are Hui Wenqi, Vicky, Professor
Hello.
Wang Shishou, and Yang Jiqing, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm a final year PhD student from the Faculty of Medicine of MEDT, and I mainly do clinical data research, which is about data cleaning and statistical analysis. And I'm sure that the audience already know what LDM is and how important they are, and which is related to the data engineering. Data engineering, it plays a crucial part in today's data-driven world, and I'm familiar with the relational database management system and Apache software, which I'm sure that I can help the audience how to do the data management properly, because a proper data management could help us to obtain the results in a more efficient way and obtain accurate results. And together we may devise a better management plan, and I can do more than input forms. Feel free to contact me via email. Thank you very much.
Professor Wang.
Hello. I'm Shishou. I'm currently a research assistant professor from Department of Microbiology. I'm a computational biologist. My work involves extensively the use and the generation of data. So if you have any questions in terms of this, I think you can easily find me by this email address, and I'm also very happy to become the data champion of this program. I hope that our efforts can help researchers better understand the data management and the correct and appreciate the use of and the sharing of data in research.
Thank you. Next, we have Michelle.
Hi everyone, this is Michelle. I'm from the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology from the Faculty of Medicine, and I'm the most junior one here, that I'm an MPhil student. So there are lots of data we're doing, like clinical data and also in the laboratory data. And one of the project that my colleague Vicky is doing is that we got a data collaboration lab. So there are lots of data, and how to manage is a question. And I am here as a data champion to learn more about this together and provide support if necessary. So feel free to connect me via email or LinkedIn. Many thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, we have data champions from Faculty of Science. We have Una Harbi and Yun Shibao.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Habibullah and I'm a PhD student from Department of Mathematics, Faculty of Science. So my research area is basically machine learning and artificial intelligence to solve the partial differential equation. So mainly in our research area, we are using a large set of data which we refine, and we use some means of that data. We refine that data, and using that data with some partial differential equation, and make to reduce the error from the problem. So basically, we always promote the open science and data management. So I'm very open for the friendly conversation about the mathematics and RDM. If you want some, if you have some Q&A, you can reach me at my email address. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Shubal.
Hello everyone, I'm Shibo Yuan from the Faculty of Science, the Department of Physics. So I'm very glad to be a part of the Data Champion team. So I will promote the data management in CUHK in my future work. My major is astrophysics. This subject is studying the universe. In my mind, universe is something like the data. Without exploration, the universe stays mysterious. Without usage, without sharing, reuse, and persistent management, the data is also stay inert. So from my practical point, I want to use the data management to promote my research work and include others' research work. From a bigger vision, I want to promote the data management in our whole campus, in our university, because the better data management, the better science, and the better community. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubal. Finally, we have Professor Ng and then Bao Yema from Faculty of Social Science.
So hi, I'm Provides. I'm from Architecture and Urban Design School. My research specifically look at how metaverse technologies can be applied to help multi-stakeholder collaboration and to enhance public participation within urban development. So every building project starts with a 3D model. However, we're designers and we don't like to share our data. So it's a very difficult task to invite people who like to keep their projects unique to actually communicate and collaborate. So I will talk a little bit more later about the upcoming research project in collaboration with the library to look at how we can bridge the gap between professional practice, but also the field of conduct for a researcher to promote data circularity. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Dan Paulo Ariema. I'm currently I am one of the data champions for the Faculty of Social Sciences. I'm currently a year 3 PhD student under the Public Mental Health Laboratory, Department of Psychology. So in the social sciences, we deal with varying data. That is why, as a data champion, I am very much willing to help and assist my fellow students in the ins and outs of data management. And also, if you're interested, especially if you're from the Faculty of Social Sciences, feel free to contact me anytime, and I'm very much willing to help you out with your data management. And finally, since I'm the last one, on behalf of my fellow data champions, I am inviting everyone to get engaged in research data management because I know very well that it will help us in our research practice. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Dan, and to all data champions. Now you know all the data champions from your faculty. During the research process, whether it is the data management planning stage, or during the research process, or even during the data preservation or sharing stage, you may contact the data champions in your faculty or our team, the research data management team, for advice or support. And now, research data management covers different stages in the research life cycle. During the research process, researchers need to consider how to manage data. At the end of the research projects, they are also encouraged to open the data as much as possible, and it will promote the reuse of data by other researchers and the public. To facilitate data processing and sharing, we are glad to have two data champions, Carleon and Mendonza, and Professor Ng to share their views. After their presentations, we will have a discussion. If you have any comments or questions, please type in the chat box of the Zoom or ask after the presentation. Now, I will pass the mic to Carleon. Carleon, please.
Hello, can you hear me well? Okay, good morning, everyone. So our talk today, actually two talks, will be split into these two primary areas here, which are in academia, and the other one will be in the industry. How can we promote RDM? How can we enhance RDM within these two aspects here? In fact, this is a much bigger topic than you might think, considering that the industry is a world of its own, but even within the academia, you have novices and students, just like ours, like most of us here, competing with several other labs, other groups and other researchers that have already established themselves. So how can we make our foothold? How can we make a first step into the academia and all that? So our talk will be of these two here. So Provides will be having the second talk here. But first, for my talk, we'll be discussing how we can unlock collective knowledge and promoting interdisciplinary research. Now, why do I mention interdisciplinary research and open science? Well, that's because that's the newest trend. It's been a trend for a very long time, but I have to emphasize this enough. I have to emphasize this much more than you might think, because we want to have collaboration. Collaboration makes work, makes science much better than having just one mind, one human body working on mountain upon mountain of data. In that case, contemporary research, thriving in collaboration, we thrive on the shared knowledge, on shared skills, and shared resources. Labs around the world have different types of people, different equipment that can all facilitate the research that we envision. And this diverse disciplines can then cooperate to integrate insights that we may not have been able to answer if it was just limited to the one ourselves, or even just within one lab. And thus, these combined endeavors breed innovation, unlocking what was considered impossible to then become the possible. I show here two cases, the first one being the Human Genome Project, a huge project that took over 10 years, combining hundreds of researchers and labs to combine all the data they have together. This is very sensitive information, and this is information that was gathered with different, apparatus, different formats around the world. So imagine the workload that this must have brought on. Something much closer to home, and someone who I know fairly well, Professor Patrick Wong, our Associate Vice President of Research here in the Chinese University of Hong Kong. In 2020, published this research article on the ASPM lexicotone gene, on how their genetics may have a role in the languages that we are able to acquire. Imagine the distribution of work that you have right here. There are at least 5 of them here, and they all manage their data a little differently. So what are the challenges actually? There are many challenges to think of. First of all, you're going to have to consider long-term preservation. If it's a many-year-long process, well, how do you make sure that the data stays intact, readable, accessible? Secondly, you've got to consider the heterogeneity of data. In linguistics, in the linguistics department where I'm from, we deal with a lot of different types of data, whether it be corpus data, so that's lines upon lines of text, it could be thousands long. You've also got experimental methods, but even then, experimental methods is very diverse. I don't show examples here, but imagine you're dealing with fMRIs, EEGs. Then you've also got reaction times. You've got priming effects to consider. And how do you word it all together so that people can understand it? You've got data access and privacy for open science and collaboration. Then you've got commercial interest, data ownership, and rights. Who, when you transfer data, who technically owns it? So this may be a bigger question than you might think. And perhaps there's an answer that provides in her second talk, maybe be able to answer better. But at least in this case, it's still a consideration. And all of this needs to be incorporated into the research plan, in the research cycle. You've got to consider planning all the way up to the setup of the research, synthesize, synthesize the research, have everything analyzed, put all together, publicize it, and then you inspire others, whether they be other labs or students like me. My inspiration for my thesis in the coming future was brought on because of open science and because of the generosity of researchers around the world. Because they were willing to share all this, that's how you promote science. As some of the data champions have mentioned here, sharing all this promotes science. So that's where we have RDM. In fact, RDM, this is not all of the aspects of RDM, mind you, but in each aspect here that I mentioned, can at least cover some of the basic and challenging aspects of the research cycle. Consider the storage. Where are you going to put it? You've got the metadata and data discoverability. You've got to consider the sharing platforms. Where do you want to share it and using what? Quality assurance, validation, verification. You've got tools and techniques. If you've got data that you need software to use, you may as well spell it out. You've got security measures. You've got funding agency guidelines. You've got all these guidelines that you need to consider. You have to respect as well. So here, in fact, the RDM process is streamlined and achievable. You can answer these with at least just these three aspects right here. And while the data champions are very familiar with this, some students lack awareness of this completely. So here I am. I'm going to show you how this can be applied. If you have any further questions on how specifically they can be applied, you can leave them in the Q&A after the talks. First of all, here on the left, I've gathered students' comments from the Faculty of Arts, and I've asked them, hey, what do you think of RDM? One student said, synchronizing data and matching them between local drives, cloud drives, thumb drives, it can all get very confusing. Well, let's talk about it. Let's break it down. You've got two of these drives here, and they all have their benefits and their disadvantages. Let's talk about the benefits. Cloud drives, OneDrive, Google Drive, whatever you choose, they all have automatic updates and cross-device use. Local drives are offline, so they're hack-proof. They're hack-proof, and they have immediate access. I would suggest that you have different uses for these type of drives. Cloud drives could be much more, if you're willing to upload the data onto cloud drives without considering privacy, highly confidential data, then go ahead, use cloud drives. So for instance, reports, data analysis, even EEGs, I believe would be fine. Consider also research data repositories. The CUHK library has their own research data repository. And using Dr. Wendy Wong's data set as an example, we see that everything here is, again, very uniquely organized with all the files that you can access right away, plus all the information that you can ever need to make sure that all this is trackable. You can verify everything, you can share it, and you can use it. But let me summarize this by saying that a hybrid approach is recommended. It is beneficial. But I would implore you to consider your needs, your priorities, as well as the procedures that you want to use. Don't use cloud drive for something and then use another thing for local drives. Consider file versioning. Naming files is also very important. Don't do what I did when I was very young and say final thesis, final, version 1, absolute final. Don't do that, okay? Basically, having procedures helps you understand, oh, what I did wrong or what I'm doing right. Another concern that a student had was, well, students don't know how to apply RDM until they're required to do so. Oh no, I was supposed to do it. I did not know that. Technically, having a data management plan would help solve this right away. Having an outline of how to proceed with everything lets you know, basically like a checklist. I've done this, therefore everything can be done. Also, a lot of journals, a lot of organizations nowadays require DMPs, data management plan, by the way. In this case, I found this one data management plan from the DMP tool website. This is a colleague, Dr. Zhou Jiangling, and this is Professor Mai Ziyan. So I asked them if I can share it, and they said yes. In this case, this tells you all the information that you could possibly need, including what the project is generally about, the data collection method that they're going to employ. So in this case, will you collect data? Yes. But then what type of data will you collect? On text, storage and backup. Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to preserve it? How are you going to share it? The metadata that you'll need to include to make sure people understand what's happening. Because believe it or not many researchers do this. And it's hard to actually read some of the files sometimes. And finally, some ethics and legal compliance. Responsibilities, plan research outputs. So neatly put, when you have a framework of what you want to do, you then have a better idea of what's happening. People outside of you have a better idea of what's happening. And therefore, it helps organization, You've got reproducibility, and it also makes you responsible. One last thing that a student expressed a concern over is, well, we've got different formats and arrangements of data collection. There should be RDM specialists in every lab and department that helps with our cases. Well, barring funding support, barring the limitations of the money that you're allowed to spend on our departments, having data champions, just like all of us here in the audience, is actually really meaningful. Because not only are you able to quickly reach out to them and ask, oh, well, so for this journal, they asked me to do this. Should I do it? Yeah. So now having the confidence to do your work because you have support from an RDM, the RDM data champion, makes the whole process much simpler. Furthermore, I think a lot of people don't realize this enough, but there are online resources and guides that are available, but they just don't look. They don't look. So data champions have a responsibility to show them that they can look this up. And finally, I believe this last word here that I put here, engagement, developing a culture for RDM, is just so much better than having nothing and telling them, oh, wait, why is your data like this? So instead, having something that's much more positive, having something that's reinforcing, having someone that you can depend on, actually makes research very comfortable. It shouldn't be daunting, even for the lowest of low PhD year 1 students like me. So here's an interim summary. We have the importance of interdisciplinary research and data sharing. We know the importance of collaboration and what the fruits of our labor can do, but there are challenges to overcome. But come with these challenges, you have RDM that helps you solve all your issues. Well, not all. We'll do our best. All right, so with that said, I'm going to end it right here. This is the end of my talk. I will pass the mic now to Provides for the second talk. Remember, for all the audience members, if you have any questions, please wait until the end of our talks. We'll get to them soon. Thank you.
Hi everyone, it's me again. Yeah, so I'm bringing a project that I'm collaborating with the library, with Wendy, to look at data commons. So the project title is Data Circularity, Reuse and Share in the Research Data Management of Professional Disciplines. What does it mean? It might look complicated, but I've tried to make it simple for you. Okay, so imagine this scenario. You are a researcher and you've observed that in practice, stakeholders in the supply chain works in silo, and you want to understand what caused this problem and how we can propose better engagement methods and intervention. So you approach some professional architects working in the field, and you want to collect building project data for analysis. Okay, so that's me. Like, hey, I have this really great research project. I can help you streamline your cooperation along the chain of commands and enhance the productivity and efficiency of your company. Would you mind to share your project data for me so I can do the analysis for you? So this guy, great, no, right? This is basically my life story. So this is the problem that we started with. Professionals are governed by the guidelines and ethics that shape the conduct of practice in their industry. For instance, in architecture, design data are often kept confidential to preserve the uniqueness of each building project. However, there is a growing concern about the underutilization and management of data in research and the unfulfilled potential for reusing and sharing data to support industry communities, but also future research efforts. So the study tried to investigate the possibilities and challenges associated with RDM across practice-based professional disciplines with the architecture field as a case study. So the gap is this. This is how we like data protocol within academia and data protocol within professional practice. And the goal is to have a data common, basically proposing a governance framework that we can shape a community together to manage, analyze, and share data across research and practice. So the research question is very simple. To better support future research endeavors, how can data be effectively and ethically reutilized and shared between practicing professional and researcher to enhance data circularity? There's like 5 objectives that we're going to fulfill. First, we need to identify the gap. So why is it different? Second, we want to know the challenge. Why are people not adapting RDM? And after we know the challenge, we have to tackle them, propose interventions. And finally, if we want wider adoption, then we need incentive, not just regulation for people to adopt RDM. And finally, I think what we will learn from this project is not just for architecture. In the medical field, in legal fields, any professional disciplines that require their own field of conduct, I think we can abstract principle for a framework of data cooperation. So I'll give a little bit more specificity for you to understand architecture and urban design. So every building project starts with this cycle, and every step generates a lot of data. So we can confidently say that the production of architecture is simultaneously the production of information. Right? First, you have the design. All of these data is in 3D. 3-dimensional, and then you have like building permit, the tender drawings and cooperation, legal documents. These are textual data. And then finally, you actually build it. And there's a lot of, the architects go down to the site with a contractor, a lot of communication going on. But I've also added these extra processes. And the reason because is when I was looking through this process, I realized all of these is either confidential, no documentation, not accessible, and the only thing that you're able to find that is open is the framework that they will release, like how the project cycle will go. These are supposed to be transparent. Who is involved in the project? For instance, the Construction Industry Council, they also publish the sort of latest building technology that they are using. And also finally, the inspiration that designers get to design their buildings. This is the Palace Museum. It's inspired by the Forbidden City, but like upside down. However, this is quite a lot of spontaneity and improvisation happens in the design process. How can we begin to document that in a scientific manner and objectively where other people are able to like follow the steps? So here's a SWOT analysis. Weakness. Train as designer is not supposed to be a weakness unless you're doing research, because as I said, we don't like to share. But at the same time, it's a strength because design is both an art and a science. So we can apply for art funding, science funding, but how we manage data would be very different, right? And because it's so interdisciplinary, we work with clients, contractors, developers, suppliers. There's a lot of complexity in the data. It comes in very different format. Some are more subjective, some are more objective. Yeah, and a lot of times we use abductive reasoning, meaning that we don't know the input, we don't know the method, but we know what the outcome we want, which is very different from how natural sciences would work in their process. So how can we manage data within that sort of reasoning? But at the same time, because of that, we have very holistic thinking. So unlike other science discipline, we have to think about, okay, we want to make this building project happen. We have to look at the people, we have to look at the building material, we have to look at the environment. It's very holistic. And we're fairly digitized because every building project starts with a 3D model, right? So everything is already digitized. However, we also have information asymmetry because designs have to be unique. And that goes into the threat and the opportunities. Design thinking, I think business school nowadays like to use this a lot. We also have a big space for innovation because we don't have like a static, very established form of research. We sort of design along the way. But at the same time, we have a lot of collaboration and competition already within the fields. How can we also embed research data management within it? That's the problem. Finally, 3D data. But today with the advancement of metaverse, I think we have a big chance of actually be able to share data in another way, which I will talk about a little. Yeah, but first we also have to overcome the threats, which is that we are very niche. If you try to find a top tier journal on architecture design, it's very challenging. Maybe it doesn't exist. And also we work quite in silo, even though the supply chain has been established for maybe a century, but still all the departments are quite fragmented. Finally, because we're so niche, we have a lot of methods limitations. But within all of these challenges, don't be scared. Now I am proposing 4 approaches that might be the hypothesis when we're carrying on to the next day of the research. First one is from a blockchain perspective. This sort of method has been on for at least a decade. So the idea is that you don't actually share the actual data, but you have some sort of federated learning where you stack the data, and then each person keep their data on their local drive, but then you upload the encryption on the blockchain. So in a way, you share safely through a consortium that you authorize access when it's being requested. So in a way, it tries to protect your personal identity, protect your project, but you're uploading it onto the clouds. However, we still don't see that coming a lot. There's a lot of startup. They close down in 3-year cycle. So I think there's a big question here, like why are they not, like growing and developing and scaling? Second thing, this is more the metaverse way, which is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is very successful these few years, so something that they're doing right. First, they don't ask you to upload the entire building. They ask you to share a toilet cubicle, which is, it's no one minds the toilet cubicle. With the toilet cubicle, they synchronize the data format. So it used to be all of these different formats, and now it's all open data structure. So then you have interoperability in the 3D data. And finally, the same data, they use a universal scene description. So then it doesn't matter what device, what software, what computer you open it with, it will be exactly the same scene that you see. So that's one way. It's also the way that my own thesis project is investigating. Smart city, everyone loves smart city. So that's quite complicated because a city has a lot of information and how you stack it. So I tried to break it down for you guys. I tried explaining this to my mom and she managed to understand, so it should be simple. Basically, all of this is like the technological stack. You have the hardware infrastructure, the server or the land, and then you have the database, which is the storage, and then you have the operating system, which is like every district in the city, And then you have the application, which is like the building, like you're applying the spatial function. And finally, you have the interface, which is where the user access it. So with this logic, you actually have a way to see how data can be connected through each layer. And then you can start planning to say, okay, I have this research management plan. How can I understand also from the practicing perspective, these data are translating between each layer, different people looking at each layer, so then everyone can communicate. The final one, this one's a bit more light because it's more artistic. It's a project by Lev Manovich. He is very famous and he happens to be in Hong Kong these 2 days. What he did was that he went on social media and he scraped all of the data where people take a picture of the building. And what he did was simply line up all of the color codes of all of these social data to look at what are the trends of people actually paying attention to their building environment. And then he fed all of this data into artificial intelligence, and the data point generated some building design. This might also be a LiDAR scan or a point cloud, but anyways, 3D data points where you can manipulate. So because it's an artistic expression, it's easy to share. So these are the 4 proposals. I will summarize what would be the next step of our research in validating these proposals. First, we will do quantitative. We will have a questionnaire to identify patterns and trends in current data sharing and reuse practice, but also if people are aware, they need to do research data management, what their perception, utilization, and knowledge. I will distribute this questionnaire later for everyone. And after we receive the questionnaire result, we will base that to do a set of interviews, semi-structured, with people practicing in the field, but also the researcher to understand their perspective, what they think the challenge is, and how we can overcome it. And finally, all of these will be consolidated into a co-creation workshop. So we will use a participatory action research. It will be really fun. We're just coming together, discuss, do some design exercise of thinking, how can we propose better systems and to validate the one that's already been proposed. So welcome everyone to join this workshop later in the year. Yeah, final thing. I want everyone to really understand how this can relate to you because everything is about architecture. But actually, it's not just about architecture. For instance, I realized that a few of my friends from different departments, they're scraping the exact same data set on Instagram, on some social data. But if we can share it, then we can avoid duplicate effort. Imagine the government is funding 10 different projects that generates the same data set, and that's not very effective. Second thing, I have a friend who is working in material science doing a life cycle assessment on plastic bottles. But the way that he scoped his project is that he can only analyze secondary data. So he will not be doing experiments. And then he realized that the industry, like recycling factories, don't like to share their data to them, but he needs to know how much water and energy has been put in the plastic bottle to be able to do this assessment. And so now he has no data for analysis, and so he's really troubled. And that's why if we're able to share, we can enhance efficiency and productivity. Third example, our medical professional here. Actually, Hong Kong medical system is ranked 12 amongst the world, which is really high. But our science and technology advancement is a 20, below a lot of other countries that we deemed are not as good as us, maybe Singapore, I don't know. Yeah, so and one of the problem is that the professionals are practicing professionalism in the fields, but they're not sharing the data with researcher, and sometimes these collaboration doesn't take place, and that will impact the advancement. And the fourth one is it's for students. So if students, even in their bachelor and master degree, they can already acquire these skills, these are actually soft skills. You think about how you communicate with other people, you think about how you collaborate with them, and also the world is changing. It will only be more digitized, especially when the median age is 45 years old. That means we need more automation, we need more technological application, so then we can be old and there will be some robots working for us. That's why students, we need to teach them nowadays so that in 20 years, they will be professional in doing research data management. And finally, enhancing impact. That speaks to the university. If you want all of your funding going to the project for more people to know them, then we need to start making all of these data management visible and making data available so that we get more citation and our ranking will go up. Yeah, so this is the final slide, which proposes how, as individuals, we can all work together to help promote this. First, Planet, we really have to go into each department and interview all of the faculties and students because they are our biggest stakeholders. If they are not willing to adopt, then the entire project can be fancy but no one use. Second thing, I think we need to we already have, which is the data repository, the website, the platform, but make it easy for people to use and understand. Because when I talk to a lot of my colleagues, they are scared. They're literally scared. They thought it's very complex, but actually it's not. I think the library spent a lot of effort to make this understandable. But sometimes for specificity of the fields, they might find it hard to plan it and manage it. And then the third is we need to provide training. So currently we only train our data champions, but I hope that we will get training in each of the department in the future so everyone can have a easy way to get started. So I think we need some sort of experiment. Maybe we find 10 people in the department, try and do some project with them and experiment, and then we targetedly specify what were the challenge that happened within the project, so then we can be more holistic in our understanding. And finally, we need to launch engagement. We have to spread it into the professional disciplines that we're working with, so then we have a better communication pipeline. Cool, and finally, I really need your help because this is the questionnaire. If you would please scan it and start filling it in. I'll be very happy. And if you want to join our workshop, you can leave your contact also in the survey as well. Cool. I'm Provice. Welcome to get in touch with me. Happy to collab. Thank you.
Thank you, Carleon and Provice, for your sharing. I hope more audience will be joining and participating in the survey. Now, may we invite Carleon and Provice to the front, and we can have some discussion about maybe their topics, as well as what our data champions, as well as all the audience here and online, to have some discussion together. If the online audience have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box. Any questions? Good.
I'm not going to record the Q&A, so we can just speak our mind.
So hello, thank you for your inspired talks. So my problem is that I'm also working on a big project that contains a lot of things. So some of them are from linguistics, some of the doctors from medical teams, and also psychologists. So the problem is they are collecting data and process their data in their own way. For example, they like to use some. So they like to use some data format that are very different from our engineering style things. So to process their data, it takes time and it's really a dirty works. So the problem is that they are keep updating their data, like they have different labeling protocols. They are changing some information within the data. So things is that the synchronization between their teams and our teams is a big problem, because you need to take time to process their data. So typically the engineer team are running all the experiments on the version of, for example, the version of February, but they are keep updating their data, and their data is around, the version is around September. So anyway, my question is that how to bridge the gap between different teams under a very big, complicated project to help them to better promote their research to using the research data. Thank you.
I can give some insight to this first. I don't have a solution. I don't have a ideal or practical solution for this. This issue that you have is not your own. The third student that I shared, the third concern that I shared was basically the same thing. Her research right now is in psycholinguistics, but her research involves many other labs and many other formats that you said are just, whoa, I have no idea what to do or how to do this, especially if it's an independent research and you don't have the time to process everything on your own. So perhaps one solution would be, if it was a lab-wide process, would be to have someone delegated to just being very professional and specialized in keeping everything up to date and formatting everything for your lab, which is a very demanding job. One other solution I would say is pretty much just like what Provides mentioned in her talk, was to have a common format between each other. But that involves a lot of planning and knowing what you want to do. The research plan should tell you right away, perhaps the principal investigator should tell you, I want this. So lab A, in this giant data sheet, I want this in column A. Lab B, I want this in column B. Yes, column B. So in this case, it would just make everything much simpler than having separate formats that otherwise you may not even entirely need. What do you think?
He just said what I wanted to say. Yeah, I'll just give an example. So my project, I involve social workers, local community centers, maybe even government agencies, and also citizens. And what I would do besides just having this common template and like specify data structure that they have to adhere to, but it has to be an easy one. It can't be like the most complex one. And the third thing I would do really is education. So before the project starts, I will have this fun workshop. I will design some games, and through playing these games, they will acquire the knowledge of what they have to do. So I think there is no easy way to do this. To make sure everyone is informed, we have to not spoon feed, but you have to help them develop their capacity to understand what you want to do. Without those kind of workshop, even if you make the template, it will be all over the place. They won't follow your instructions. Yeah, you have to help them. Yeah, just think of them as like your mom. How you can help. Yeah, if your mom can understand, then everyone else would be. Yeah, so I experiment a lot with my parents.
Me too.
Same here. Same here.
Did someone in Zoom have a question? We heard someone speak. Don't be shy.
If how about the others? Any other have a questions or comments?
Thank you very much for your talks. Actually, I have a similar problem. Could you please advise a better managing files from different raw data sources? My colleagues often edit raw files directly and share them. And how should I name these files to avoid confusion? I don't think the version 1, version 2 is, is the best solution, but I don't know how to handle these cases.
I'm sure every lab will have their own requirements. I can't tell you right now because my habit would be to just put date and then version number 1. I don't use Roman numerals. I don't use, like English alphabets. I just use numbers. But that's just completely dependent on your department. I know from working with other labs, their procedure, and it works for them. For security's sake, I'm not going to tell you what they are right now, unfortunately. Fortunately. But having that strict procedure really helps. If you find that there's more than one person updating the same file, tell them to stop doing that. I would say, personally, I would tell them to stop doing that. Perhaps you have some experiences that you...
I've realized that the most difficult problem in research data management is not the data, it's actually the people. It's actually
Yeah, totally
people
agree.
management. So I would maybe think of this problem from a different perspective, not to just think about the kind of data output you want, but like observe people in your laboratory and find out why they do that thing where they keep editing the file that you told them not to edit. Yes, so maybe that will help you. You have to be proactive. If you are passive, then they will take control of your cloud drive. Yeah.
Though that begs a kind of a follow-up question on how much knowledge we're expected to have. We're already specialists in our area. All of you shouldn't be expected to have to spend so much extra time on learning new skills. But then now we have an issue. We have to have these skills in order for our specialization to work. So I think there's a hard discussion to be had on, well, what do you expect out of people, right? So you have at least in some of the labs that I've worked with, they have training processes. So just like you said, you've got to have training processes for this. You've got to set up expectations for what you want to have. And for anything else, when you have to go all the way beyond, that's where the specialists come in. At least that's what I think.
I can tell you how I solved my file editing issue. I think empathy is something that needs to be trained. So they don't understand how tough your job is. So in one of the meeting, because we finished a bit earlier, like 10 minutes early, and I'm like, oh, actually I have this extra issue. And then I open a drive directly, and I'm like, I'm not very sure which file is which, and I need your help. So I invite them to come and help me, and I'm like, let's rename them now. And so there were 100 files, and then we had to rename each of them. And then they start understanding, oh shit, she has to do this every day. You know, like help them understand because they don't understand. So stand in their shoe. It's very human. I don't think it's just data.
Yeah, standing in the other's shoe is very important while we are helping the others as well as working on our own tasks. Back to something about how to collaborate among different people. I think sometimes OneDrive or Google Drive may be a good solution if those security issues are solved because they have some track changes. They have the history of the file changes. So for anything happens, you know who did something to such a work and how much backward you would like to move back. That may be something that we maybe consider. So Google Drive, OneDrive, that may be something be a solution for that. And another point that Carleon just mentioned is about naming the file names using the dates. That would be something good. And after the dates, you may have version 1, version 2. And if, one more reminder here, especially to all the audience here, if you have the dates, be considered that, think about whether you would like to use the year, month, date format or the date, month, year format, because it will change the order, how the computer will organize and rank, to prioritize the rank the file names in your folder. So this is something you have to carefully consider. If the file name, the year, the dates is very important to you, then the year comes first, followed by month and dates. That may be good to have a good order.
I also do it that way because I took the online class from the Library of Research. Yeah, and it suggested to use year, month, and date.
Yeah, because I used to have date, month, year, but now after years, then it's a disaster for me. But I need some time to massage all the file names. Yeah. So thank you very much for Vicky's question. Any more questions from the audience or
anyone from Zoom?
No one is on Zoom.
Yeah, there are people on Zoom. We have, we have colleagues as well as some professors too. Yeah, they may speak up. Yeah. Well, they may be thinking we still have around, we can have more around a few more minutes. Maybe I can address a question that Carleon and provides already give some example, but Carleon mainly talked about how we can work on RDM. But I know that you are also an expert on data management. Yeah. So would you like to share some of your experience, how you manage your data, because you have been working on some linguistic data before? Yeah.
Okay, so it would be very hard to discuss this without actual visualization, but a lot of the data that I work specifically is on corpus data, and and what you really need to consider with that is one, the tools that you will require. So that involves getting used to coding, commands, the knowledge of what you want to look for. But at the same time, that involves setting up your research questions properly. I think, and this is from advice from my supervisor, you don't look at data without an aim. Because otherwise, if you try and collect everything and you try to organize it, it's actually a fruitless endeavor. You're actually looking at nothing. You're actually spending more time than you actually need. Instead, once you have your research question all said and done, then you look for the data within the data. And if nothing comes up, well, no data is still data. No data is still a result, telling you, well, okay, my research question isn't answered. More specifically, if I were to look at corpus data, which is lines upon lines upon lines of code, like utterances, often you have to consider many factors. Many factors. So this includes who's speaking, who are you speaking to, how long are they speaking for, what are the pauses between each person speaking, what are they talking about, where are they talking about, when are they talking about, do they have a brother, do they have a sister? If you're talking about child data, do they have a brother and sister? That actually has an impact on what you're looking for. So again, without actual visualization, I cannot show you what I really mean. But I hope that at least my ideology and the methodology is clear enough that you have a good grasp of, hey, this is how I can do linguistics research by having a scope within something that seems very murky and intangible.
Yeah, that's very true. That when we work on research data, we really need to think about our research question and what our aim is. And any other questions?
Can I also supplement something? I think there's actually two logic. One logic is that you categorize everything. This is actually the old-fashioned way. And the new way is what Google tells you. Don't sort, just search. And that means that, for instance, if I have toilet compartments, living room, sofa, what I do is I attach a lot of hashtags on each of these data samples. And if I attach 5 keywords on each of the data samples, then I don't have to sort them into folders and require everyone to name correctly. Because when I need something, I just search. And that's like the easiest way that I manage. And I think that's the future of what data management would be. Because sorting requires a lot of human labor, and it's like a tough job that no one likes to do. But hashtag, everyone likes to do hashtags, right?
Yeah, this sounds very good. Yeah.
If people already use keywords in research articles, then why can't they do it in data management, right?
Yeah, that's very important for us to manage when we have to manage a large amount of data. Other than that, I back to Provide's presentation. I also would like to address one thing is you also mentioned about AI. May I know your view on how AI could be applied or will influence RDM?
Artificial intelligence doesn't have to imitate human intelligence, but I think currently it's focusing on 3 of our senses: hearing, speaking, which is the natural language processing, but also visuals, which perhaps architects look a lot more. Image processing nowadays, it's like going to the sky. And what they do, the third thing is actually bridging the 2 senses. So now they're doing text to image, image to text. So what is happening is that a lot of those data gets trained to help the AI do the semantic segmentation in some videos or image, so they can understand a building from a street, from a tree. That's the visual sense. And for text, I think it supplements what he was saying, like a lot of the metadata on how people speak, relationship between words, that's very linguistic. So I think that's the trend. Smelling and eating, we don't even have a lot of digital devices that are tackling that field. So for me, I think definitely it's these 2 senses, but also the connection between them. How research data can be used not just for clustering data, discriminating model, but also generating data. I think we have to understand how these different models work so we can better integrate them into our projects.
Yeah, that's very important to have all the senses come together with our work too. Any more questions? If there are no more questions, I think it comes to our close to our Q&A session. And thank you for all your participations and support to our data champions. Whether you are here at the DS Lab or online. Remember, if you encounter any questions or concerns on research data management, please feel free to contact our data champions or our research data team at library. We are always welcome for discussions. And last but not least, as you can, for those audience in the DS Lab, you can see on the other screen that we are having our research data management week. We still have 2 more events in the coming 2 days. One is the seminar tomorrow morning at 9:30, and the other is the Data Analytics Practice Opportunity 2023-24 presentation sessions. And students working in these projects will present their work using our CUHK data. So please please join our sessions if you are interested, and don't miss this event. We look forward to meeting you again in the coming events. Thank you very much.